Okay. Welcome to the March 15th Citizens Traffic Commission meeting. Welcome, everyone.
Hey.
John, I still can't see you. I don't know if you have to click on something.
Yeah, you won't see me for a little bit, but I got to get my hair and makeup done first.
Oh, okay, that's fine. What am I doing? Okay, let's start with the member reports. Who'd like to go first?
I shall go first.
Okay.
So there was a planning commission meeting on March 8th. Actually, there were a couple other ones, but the one on March 8th had something of interest to us. They were discussing a minor subdivision on 1442 Oxford Valley Road. Now, this is the stretch of Oxford Valley Road between the Christine's Restaurant and Manor Care. So if you're coming from the mall, there's that traffic light right before the railroad crossing. Oxford Valley Mall, Oxford Valley Road turns there. So the property is on, if you're heading towards the ball field, the property is on the left-hand side, and it's one lot that they want to make into two lots. The existing house has a driveway that opens onto Oxford Valley Road. So as a requirement of the subdivision, the township said that the homeowner or the property owner has to put sidewalks along the front of his property, which is about 100 feet on Oxford Valley Road.
Really?
They asked for a waiver, and the township said, the planning commission said no. Either you put in the sidewalk now or you pay into a fund. So the township has a dedicated fund for sidewalks. So the opposite side of Oxford Valley Road has sidewalk and a bike path, but his side of Oxford Valley Road does not have a complete sidewalk. There are gaps. So, some of the properties don't have sidewalk. So I guess this is something new that the township is requiring, that homeowners, or, when you go to do a subdevelopment or a new development, they want you to put sidewalks in. So
are sidewalks, this is a question for Jenny, are sidewalks the scope of the traffic commission? Because I listened to that presentation, I thought, there's nothing on there for traffic because there's already driveways coming out of that place already. So I completely didn't even think about it, but because I didn't think sidewalks were kind of our thing. Maybe they are.
Tangentially they are, and frankly, Jim Majewski sent me the plans, and I had the same thought you did, Keller. I figured since they weren't changing driveways or anything, that, I haven't even sent the plans out to everybody because I just thought it was a small thing and I didn't think about the sidewalks at all. I guess my first question would be, is it a sidewalk to nowhere? Are there sidewalks on either side, Catherine?
Well, there is sidewalk, there are gaps on that side of Oxford Valley Road. The sidewalk isn't complete, but there is a complete sidewalk on the opposite side across from, this property. I guess the thinking is that, in the future, the township may want to put sidewalks all along there on that side as well. So, and this is, just not thinking about this one property, but just thinking in general for any kind of development, subdevelopment.
Well, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Clear on our scope, because I care a lot about this personally, but I don't necessarily know if I care about it in the context of the traffic commission. I don't know if
it's just, I guess, just in the context, general context of trails and bike paths and
love it. But
so it's in that context, really, not specifically a sidewalk.
But is that
in front of people's homes?
Scope of the traffic commission, or is that in the scope of Parks and Rec?
Don't we also look at trails and bike paths and.
But that's just the sidewalk.
Community. We were asked to comment on the community trail, but something like this. I don't know how everybody else feels. I kind of feel like this is not really, since it's so limited, unless the intention is to put a crosswalk there.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking.
I don't feel like we should get involved. I know in the past when we've wanted a crosswalk, the township have insisted that there be sidewalk on both sides of the street. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they wanted them to put a sidewalk in so there could be a crosswalk at that point, that's one thing. But if it, obviously it's up to the township whether they want to require it or not. I mean,
that's a different area.
I don't see where that affects traffic.
We wanted a crosswalk years ago at the where Christine's is, that right there, a crosswalk. But I think the one side really, if they had a sidewalk on the other side, it'd be different. But they don't.
I don't mean that we're looking at individual properties for sidewalk, but just interesting to know that the township has requirement to pay a fee in lieu of putting in sidewalk. The property owner would pay a fee.
That, right?
I don't know.
There's always been a fee in lieu.
Well, there was a fee before, but I don't think it was a dedicated fee. So it went into the general fund, and the money isn't there when there's a need for a sidewalk somewhere. But now there is a dedicated fund. So.
Well, I like that idea.
Yeah,
I like the idea.
That's a good idea.
Fund.
Well, I'm a city kid. I believe in sidewalks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I thought it was interesting from that perspective, not specifically that we're going to be looking at the plans for a property or someone wanting to make some improvements to their homes, but just in the general context of having sidewalks when we're looking at other plans, other big development plans.
That's just a minor thing, putting another house there.
Yeah. That's minor. That I've sometimes when we're going through the master plan of all the sidewalks and what the priorities are, I'm personally very interested in that. So I kind of get drawn to it. And then I ask myself, am I looking at that as an individual citizen because I personally care very much about having sidewalks, or is it the purview of the traffic commission to look at that setup? That's more just a question. I'm not sure what context. Because we don't get involved in all that entire discussion about sidewalks, but.
Right. Well, unless there's a big objection, I mean, I since it's one property and, one of the complaints you hear about sidewalks, other than the fact that we don't have enough of them, is that we have too many that just go nowhere, that were required years ago, and one developer put it in and it doesn't go, then there's no sidewalk and so forth. So, if we were talking about a development and we were talking about wanting a sidewalk in front of a development that goes a considerable amount of feet, that would be one thing. Something like this, I don't really think is in our purview.
I agree, Jenny. I wasn't making a case for this particular property. Like you said, it's a single property. It's a minor subdivision, but I'm just bringing it up because when we're looking at other bigger plans, that would be something to keep in mind. That either you pay into a fund or you put the sidewalks in. Now there were some discussions about having anybody put a sidewalk in now, and everybody puts a different sidewalk in, and it looks terrible. It may not all be to the same standard. So maybe paying into a fund is a good thing where you could put in a consistent sidewalk that looks nice, all the way through.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good idea to me. I mean, just generally, is it?
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. Because if it just gets, I assumed all along, obviously erroneously, that that's what did happen in the past. But I guess the money that was paid in lieu just didn't go just what went into the general park and rec fund, or
I don't know. They said general fund, so it wasn't
General fund.
It wasn't actually being used, necessarily for sidewalks. So that was the only thing that was interesting. And then the zoning hearing board, no related business other than tomorrow they have on their agenda, it's the extension of time for special exception approval for Shady Brook investors. I think that's the warehouse. So I don't know what that's about. I'm going to, listen to their meeting and see what that's all about.
Oh, okay.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay. Is someone trying to speak? I can't hear you.
Must have been in the background somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay. In terms of what I have, just from the Board of Supervisors meetings, Sandy Run bids were due last week, and from the agenda for this coming week, that's on there. It looks like they're going to propose selecting Harris for that. The week before the last Board of Supervisors meetings, they were saying that they were getting a lot of interest, and I think Kurt said at least a dozen people had taken the bid package. But I noticed on this week's agenda, it seems like there's an approval to choose Harris even before the project updates, but that's fine. Looks like we're going to have a decision either way. I did not. Okay. We'll just wait the meeting on what the schedule is. I don't know what the actual schedule for construction is. I guess maybe we'll.
Yes, the nominations are out.
So the bids came back very positive with the Sandy Run roundabout. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to have it finished before school starts in September or late August. Okay. So, and that's what's going to be reviewed, the opening of the bids and the discussion and approval. Plus, it'll be a little nicer than was originally anticipated because the bid alternates came through well. So
good.
Oh, that sounds good. So
that'll
they think they'll have it in by September?
Hey, quiet there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's very likely it'll be in before the school starts. Yes.
Great. Okay, so that was Sandy Run. The Big Oak Makefield signal, it seems like they still haven't had the walkthrough with the police and the traffic engineer. There was a note on the agenda that said the first meeting concerning the crosswalk has already been held. So I don't know who that meeting was with or what the outcome will be. Maybe they'll discuss it at the meeting this Wednesday. I do want to make sure, and I don't know if John, if it's you or someone, to make sure that the traffic engineer and the police, I'm sure they know this, but I drove through there every morning when I was commuting. It is packed with kids. There are so many kids coming down to Penwood and to Bame from the neighborhoods near there that intersection of Big Oak and Makefield is bikes and kids all morning, lots of them. So I want to make sure they know that because they're not going to see that if they go walk through because they're not doing it right now. But
the traffic engineer and the police we've had a lot of issues with Makefield Road over the years. Mm-hmm. So they should be very sensitive to that, especially school-age children. So yeah, they know about that area in particular. So
that's the big concern. And then it looks like Mirror Lake is still just waiting for PennDOT. That was the only other note I saw. One question I have, because Prickett's not on the agenda this week for like the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's on there.
I didn't see what's going on with Prickett this time.
It's preliminary and final approval. It'll be the last vote on that.
Okay.
Oh, so it's actually the approval.
Oh, there was a discussion of the residential section, right? Or no?
No, that's the full plans for both that would be being approved.
So John, the board is okay with giving preliminary and final at the same time and not just preliminary?
They've done that in the past. It's not always the case. I didn't choose to the structure of it, so perhaps the chair and the township manager thought that this has been discussed enough. and they could go for it all at once if they have everything in order.
Okay.
I didn't see it on here at all.
Scroll down. It's later in the meeting.
Zoning, inspections, and planning. Yeah. Yes, there it is. Yeah, it's the second item under. I'm not used to it being tucked under there, so yeah, it's under zoning. I don't know from a traffic standpoint that there's anything that we're as a commission doing at this point. I think we've seen everything. I know we had some questions about, Catherine, you said last time things they're going to want, for the pedestrian separation and stuff. But in terms of actions, I don't think we have anyone we need to reach out to or anything we need to do right now.
No, I just raised and this really isn't a traffic thing, but in the past, some developments, I don't know, in my experience, they used to give preliminary, and then it would give the time to see that certain things were done and there would be some leverage before giving final. But I know the last few big ones that have been approved, like Flowers Field, for example, they did it both at the same time. So that's just that's not a specific traffic thing. That's just a board decision whether they want to do it. They feel that,
right.
That's the way they want to go.
I was just looking at the notes on the Regency at Yardley, but I don't know. It seems like maybe it's not on the supervisor's agenda at all. I know that, Jenny, you were doing looking into something on the side about whether or not there was an escrow or whether or not there was still a plan for something, but it's not from the Board of Supervisors meeting standpoint. It's not there. There's nothing for that.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that when we're done with the reports, because that's the second item.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Scott, do you have anything?
No, I haven't seen anything going on about traffic. Now, I have full disclosure. I got kicked off Lower Makefield as a great place to live site. I'm kicked off. One of the moderators got annoyed with me or something. So I'm applying for reinstatement, but I don't know if anybody's on that, if they saw anything in the last month or so, but nothing else.
I don't think I've seen anything.
No, I don't recall seeing anything. But if you need a letter of reference, would that help?
No.
I think you'd write one, right?
One moment, please.
Oh, boy.
Phone call.
I think that was one the no more robo missed.
Oh.
Well, now with the COVID shots, I'm trying not to answer your phone. I answer like any number that comes through.
Right. Right. So that you don't have anything, Scott? Anything else?
No, nothing.
I haven't seen a lot of chatter on social media about
no traffic.
About traffic. Okay, let's go to number 2, which is the speeding on Big Oak Road by Regency. I've spoken to the resident, Mr. Nemiroff, and I have pointed him toward the traffic calming guidelines, so he's familiar with it. Although they've already, as a practical matter, they've already taken a couple of steps in terms of presenting information and so forth. But I directed him to those just, because it would require more buy-in from more neighbors, for example. But I don't know that they really are too appropriate here. I find myself always saying that, but Big Oak is a important roadway in the township. I don't know if it's a collector or an arterial. I would think it's an arterial. So instituting traffic calming per se would be an uphill struggle.
They want to try to get a traffic light, correct?
Right. They wanted to try. They say they're having trouble getting. I sent around what he originally sent to the board, did everybody get a chance to look at that?
Yes.
Yes.
In that, they were specifically requesting a traffic signal. He's also read through the settlement agreement, the matrix settlement agreement, and you know, there's nothing in the settlement agreement that prohibits traffic improvements, but you can't require the developers to pay for the traffic improvements. And so at any rate, I think what he would like to do is have them participate at our April meeting. So what I'd like to do at this meeting is see if we are on the same page in terms of making any sort of recommendation, and if so, what that would be.
Is that's the intersection you were talking about? You sent out those pictures there?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I looked at that, and really we can't do anything there until we get rid of the COVID, and then that development is not yet finished. Plus, I think once we get rid of the COVID and that development is finished, you'll have, let's say, the real amount of traffic that will be going by that intersection.
Well,
then possibly you could have an engineer go by and look at it and see if it warrants a traffic light.
Yeah. I don't know that I've noticed the traffic is now less than it used to be. Seems to be pretty back to normal. Which is the intersection that they're most concerned with, Ginny?
Fern Drive, I believe, and Big Oak.
And Big Oak. Okay, so
Big Oak. Yeah, that's it.
And then right across the street is the Yardley Woods development, which is the one that's not finished.
Well, it looks like there's both of them. I don't think both sides are not finished, I believe. Neither both sides. But it's, as I said, we're really going to have to wait. I think I have to wait till next year to really look at that and see if there's enough traffic to warrant a signal. I don't know.
Well, that's my question is it worth getting a traffic count now just to see what the problem is?
I don't think it'd be worth it.
As Scott said, it's pretty busy right now.
Oh yeah, it is pretty busy, but I don't think it's not worth it because it will change. When that's all completed, I said, and things get back to normal, I think there'll be a lot more traffic. It looks to me like it could be a traffic light put there, but I don't know. I said you have to have a traffic engineer go out and look at it and then make a determination. But I think it possibly could use a traffic light there.
They're also asking for a sidewalk and a walking path. I mean, it doesn't sound like that area is pedestrian friendly at all. My feeling is we should have our traffic engineer take a look at what they're asking for, which would be a reason for it to go through the traffic, calming procedure, because that's a procedure for getting the traffic engineer involved and talking with the residents and getting resident buy-in to show how many residents are interested in this. Perhaps the fact that they even have a committee is enough for the township board to say, yeah, let's get the traffic engineer involved. And didn't Tom Roach say perhaps an island would be one way to slow traffic down in that area? Didn't he put that in an email to you, Ginny, as a possible way to slow traffic?
I don't think it could do that.
I don't remember that. I remember that for Stony Hill, but not for Big Oak.
You can't do it because people want to come out of there and probably make a left turn not going toward the intersection there, but the other way, going over that bridge and then going over that way.
Side was on Oxford Valley Road. I think they were talking about that. I thought, but it's just it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it.
I don't think I've talked to Tom Roach about this particular.
Okay.
But Sue, aren't there things we have to do, or they have to do before you get the traffic engineer involved? Is there anything else that they need to do? Like, I can't remember, do they have to do a petition before the traffic engineer gets involved? Or we should at least have a meeting with them before we get the traffic engineer involved, right?
We
John,
could have
are you listening
okay.
to us?
Go ahead.
John Lewis? John, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
What do you think? We have a development here where they have formed a traffic committee. They've obviously done a lot of research. They have serious concerns, and I think any one of us would not want to be a pedestrian walking along that road and crossing Big Oak Road to get to the clubhouse. How do you think we should proceed?
So we've had discussions with the group previously. And at the time, there wasn't uniformity around the approach that they were looking for around handling pedestrians around that Octagon Center area. I wouldn't have a problem with meeting with them again, but I think Art makes some very good points before we invest the traffic engineer, letting the construction finish. And you know, I don't know what the timeline is but that's 6 months. That's not such a big deal, you know. That way we'll get a better count.
By next year, we should get an honest count there and actually how much traffic is going by there at different times of day. And then we'll know.
The other thing, too, is this is going to require PennDOT approval, too.
Is that stretch of Oxford Valley Road, is that still a PennDOT road? Because at some point it becomes a township road.
It's a township road. But you still need, see, the thing is, the traffic signal isn't the only option. I mean, there's other things that we could talk about that aren't traffic signals, but I do think, you know, as much information as they've given us, I do think there's value in just having, like at our next meeting, having them participate virtually and us being able to ask them more detail about the nature of the question. For example, if you're leaving the development, you know, how long do you have to wait to get out on Big Oak Road? Is it 30 seconds? Is it a minute? Is it 5? You know, what is it? And when you're coming home and you want to make a left into the development and you've got cars coming toward you, how long do you have to wait? Like, in other words, I'd like more detail about, you know, how big of an issue this is, even right now.
I would think that, you know, even without a traffic study, to Art's point, I mean, I'm guessing that there's some parameters around. It's a really wide road. It's a lot of lanes, and the speed is reasonably high. To me, I mean, it's a pedestrian issue, even if there's not that much a quantity of cars, you can't get across it.
But just a pedestrian issue, I don't know if a pedestrian issue is enough to put a traffic light. I don't know. What is it? I don't know. I have no idea. I would think it would have to be vehicular traffic to put up a traffic light.
I mean, it's probably not for us to guess. The traffic engineer can tell us that. But for the pedestrian side of it, my opinion is, I don't know how much traffic study you need because it's just a big place to have to get across physically because it's really big.
Yeah. Right.
And
plus, if you wanted to put, even if you just wanted to put a crosswalk in with a flasher, you would need sidewalk on both sides somewhere to do that.
Yeah.
And they're asking for sidewalk. They're asking.
Right. But I know they're asking for sidewalks, but doesn't it seem to you like their main issue is being able to get in and out of the development by car or not?
No,
I think it's both.
Like to be able to access their clubhouse safely.
Yeah, I think they just want to get across to the clubhouse, right, back and forth, plus getting out of there by car. Yeah, I don't know. So I was over there. There wasn't that much traffic, but I can't tell by just looking at it just one time. Has to be, I guess, different times a day. And as I said, they're going to have to finish that development first. Then you have a true sense of how many cars are there, how much traffic will be coming out of that development. I don't know.
John, don't you have those numbers for that development as part of the development approval process?
I don't, because that was done you're thinking of Octagon? I don't know if there's a traffic study for Octagon.
Well, just
no, for the development that Art is saying needs to be completed.
Yeah, but how many cars will each household have? I don't know.
Right.
How much traffic will be?
Must have that information.
yeah, really, it seems to me it's a waste to do it now. I mean, you could do it, but it wouldn't give a true number.
John, don't you have estimates for the traffic that's going to be going in and out of that development? Name the development, Art, that you're saying you'd like to have completed first, please. What's the name of the development you're talking about?
I guess it's Regency. I'm just thinking they're both sides of the street there. The one on Oxford. Well, they're both on Oxford Valley Road, and you go up Big Oak. You make a right there, and where I come from, going toward the stores, and make a right and go up that way. What are the developments on both sides? What's the names of them? I don't even know the names of these darn developments.
Okay, the development on the same side of the new medical office building and the daycare, that's Yardley Woods.
That's okay.
Okay, the development directly across the street, which would be on the same side as the CVS.
Yeah,
I just know it as part of Regency at Yardley.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're right. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a different. It's the same big development. I don't know if it has a different name.
And is it Yardley Woods that we're waiting to be completed?
It might be. I did have a sign there. I didn't even look at the darn sign. I just stopped there and got out and looked at the traffic and how much traffic was passing by. And I think there was one or two cars came out of those drives. There's a couple different roads there going out, and there was only a few cars. There's a lot of construction going on there, though.
All right, but say it's 50 homes, say it's 150 homes. Yeah. The township knows approximately how many cars are going to be going in and out of that. It's enough to launch the discussion. Maybe it won't merit a traffic signal, but these folks are asking for help for safe.
I understand that, but what can we do for them except listen to them? We really can't do anything for them. Without the full knowledge of what's going on, we can't do anything for them.
Well, I don't have that view, but I don't have that view.
What can we do now?
And until you involve the traffic engineer, you have no idea what can be done to improve the safety of an area.
I have no idea. I don't have any idea. I mean, I looked at it and I said, to me, it's a possibility they could put a light there, just to my looking at that, but I don't know.
Okay. John, did you want to say something?
I'm actually trying to see if I can find a traffic report from that. I don't have access to it easily, and I'm looking through some stuff here. So, I think that's a question, if there was, for Jim, if he has the Regency at Yardley carriages phases 4 and 5. Let me see if I can get see if I can pull that up. I'm looking for it. I don't have it offhand.
There's two roads there. One is Fern, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but Fern directly is across from the other entrance on the other side. The other one isn't.
Are they both carriage houses on both sides? I don't know. I'm not sure. I remember I saw the carriage house. I'm not sure what's being built on the other side. It looked like bigger. They were bigger, I guess, condos. I don't know what they're building there. Well, John, do you want to ask Jim about that, or you want me to send him an email and ask him?
Yeah, if you want to just send him a quick email, I mean, I can do it. Doesn't matter. Because I'm going through, I can't find, because you're asking for the actual. I did find the discussion that Jim had with the Regency at Yardley Trail Connection to Yardley Woods when he met with Toll Brothers and Regency from August of 2019. But that doesn't have anything related to traffic crossing. That's more about the pedestrian walkway section.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, even if we knew the number, forget a traffic study, even if we knew the number of units on each side, we could make some estimate in terms of the number of cars, right?
Yeah.
And we'll give you that.
Yeah, they have a metric for, like, based on the number of units, whether it's age restricted or not age restricted,
Right.
how many trips there are. That's a standard that is in the this 1,500 page book, which I'm forgetting the name of. But that, yeah, I mean, that would definitely give you a rough idea of trip counts. But I don't have
Yeah,
that.
I mean, if we could just
available.
get that, we'd have some idea.
Yeah.
I think Jim Majewski could give you that, right?
Well, yeah,
I think so.
he's typically in the last couple of years, he's really built out, putting together all the documents so they're easier to find with development. And that one just happens to be a couple of years old. So yeah, that's what I was going to say. If I could find it, just through a search, that would be better. But I can just ping him and see if he's got it.
Okay, that would be great. But back to my original question, I guess, is they want to come and present their information to us. I think there's some value in us being able to ask questions because, like I said, in terms of how much of a problem is this? How is it a question of waiting an extra 30 seconds? Is it a safety issue? Like if you're coming home and you want to make a left into there, is there room for traffic to go around you on the right? I mean, details like that. But I had told him, because he asked me, this Mr. Nemiroff, that if we would support them in a traffic light. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I said, we'll listen to what you have to say and we'll look at different options, but I can't tell you, I said, I can't tell you what we would support or wouldn't support until we had all discussed it as a group. And even then it would be a recommendation. I hear Art saying we can't even do that. We shouldn't even try to do that till after COVID, or
I don't know.
That's my opinion on the thing, that we could have them if you want to have them at the meeting, we could have them. We can listen to them.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying to put together some more information.
well, we could do that.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Have them come in. I think that is the first step of the traffic calming guidelines anyway.
Right.
They have a right to ask to be heard.
Yeah, they can be heard. Yes.
I think then Jim, we can see if Jim has the information and we can suggest what next steps are. And I don't think that the CTC would ever recommend a light, would we, until we'd had a discussion with the traffic engineer to see
absolutely
what was warranted?
Right. Absolutely not.
And how could we?
Or any specific recommendation.
Well,
Right.
we could make a
But
recommendation.
as soon as you involve the traffic engineer, you're talking spending money. So
spending money.
I'd like to do as much as we can ahead of time before we even think about, you know what I'm saying? Am I making any sense?
Yes. Yes.
We went with the traffic calming procedure so that people could follow a procedure, which included a meeting with us. And I believe at some juncture, it goes to the township manager and the board. We indicate whether we think it merits the traffic engineer's involvement. Then I believe it goes to the manager and the board to say yay or nay. I believe. I haven't read it for a while.
Yeah. Sue, could you, before the next meeting, review those traffic calming guidelines and just like bullet points, just not the whole guidelines, but just,
No, I'll send
you know,
the whole guidelines, Ginny, to everybody because we should all know what's in it. It's not that big. I'm not going to take the time to summarize it. Everybody can read them and then weigh in on what they think we should do.
right. I just don't want to skip a step is what I'm saying.
Okay. I will send the guidelines to everybody.
Well, you can
Okay.
invite them for the next meeting, Jenny, and just at least they can air their, you know, whatever their
Yeah, they can.
problems, they can air it out with us and
Just manage.
And
make
between
them
now
feel
and the
better.
next meeting, 1 minute. Keller, go ahead.
I said, just manage expectations because sometimes we've had people come to the meeting, we let them talk for 45 minutes and they don't leave. I worry that they think they're going to get an answer. So I just want to make sure we manage expectations, try to make it crisp and get them off the stage. Otherwise they think they're getting something.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Well, one thing that would help is if every member of the commission has specific questions for them, just even if each one of you just has a couple of questions for them so that
Okay.
we're getting the information we feel we need. Okay? Because maybe that would help shorten it. If you know, we just had some specific questions, like I gave you one in terms of, you know, what is the, you know, are there excessive wait times? Is it a safety issue turning? You know, specifically, where would they want a sidewalk? Whatever, you know, whatever the specific questions are, if we have those specific questions and ask them, then that would be the time to do it. It would be easier if we could all meet together and wouldn't have to do it on the computer, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely.
but yes, I will try to downplay expectations.
Ginny. Ginny,
Yes. Yes.
I was looking at the map just to refresh my memory about the road. So it's 35 miles an hour. It's single lane each side near there. And there is a left turn lane going into that neighborhood. So I think there's like dozens of neighborhoods like this that don't have traffic lights coming out of it.
Oh, right.
Including my own,
Right.
which is 40 miles an hour outside it, and we have no traffic light, and we manage to get in and out.
Right.
And we're on Stony Hill. It's pretty busy there. So I don't know.
Right. No, I definitely think we're probably talking about, you know, some other kind of,
Well, I don't know what else.
some other kind of method. If you
I don't know
did
what
put a
else you
traffic
could do.
light there,
Yeah, I don't know.
if you did put a traffic light there, it would have to be the kind that is green all the time
right
on Big Oak,
just
unless somebody,
yeah.
right. That's the only kind you could do there, right?
I would think they would, yeah.
But there are other things that you could do in terms of signage, pavement markings to slow the traffic down. But we won't know what the average traffic, what the speeds are without a study.
Right.
And if we can't do a study right now because we don't think the numbers are going to be there, then we can't. I mean,
yeah. I don't know that traffic is that down compared to what it was, you know, a year and a half ago there. I wouldn't. It looks pretty.
Yeah, I don't know that either. I mean, the times I've been there, it's been pretty busy, at least at rush hour. It's been, you know, I haven't noticed a huge difference, but, okay, so let's, and then the only other thing was the issue of is there money in escrow for that development? In other words, would there be funds available if we did recommend something in terms of sidewalks or whatever? Is there, and I guess that's a question for you, John, or a question for Kurt, is that $1 million still available, and could it be used for traffic improvements?
Part of it, yes, but it's still not certain. I don't know if that particular project qualifies. So that's the only question I'd have on that. Losing power.
Can you get an answer from Kurt or Dave or both? because I don't think they've actually spent that money on anything. They haven't built a pavilion or done any community thing. I don't believe.
Money was supposed to be for that bridge.
Yeah,
Bridge.
that was initially.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. I mean, that's why it was put away there for the bridge.
Right.
It wasn't nearly
But
enough.
then they decided that wasn't practical because a bridge would cost far more than $1 million.
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
if you just put aside $1 million, what, you know,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I'm reticent to give a rendering as to whether that would be what the rules are for that, and mainly because I don't have the agreement with me. My sense is that it is very possible that that is the case, but I don't know. And then also
could
too,
you
I
by
would
the
want to
next
get
meeting?
Huh?
Could you by our next meeting get an answer about that from?
Yeah, but before that goes, I have to also say that I'm one of 5 supervisors, and even if that were the case, that's no indication that any of the other supervisors would support that. Right?
Right. Do they have another idea for that money? Or is it just on principle? I mean,
I think before we worry about that, wouldn't we have to see if they should get anything? And
Yeah.
I think we're jumping ahead to paying for something before we know if we even need something.
oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. But I'm just saying, since the developers weren't required to do anything, you know, what's the point of coming up with some proposal if there's no money for it? I just thought it would be helpful to know if any of those funds would be available, that's all. Because they were supposed to be used for the benefit of the whole Regency at Yardley development. That was the idea behind that money.
Yeah, and
That's why
some
it
of
was
that
set
money
aside.
related to the walk path could come from developer money. But again, I don't know if the traffic light qualify. I'd have to go look at the agreement again
Right.
to see what the rules are.
And John, don't just focus on a traffic light. We're not talking about a traffic light. We're talking about any sort of traffic safety improvements, which would include sidewalks, which would include pavement markings, which would include signage. I mean, we're not just talking about specifically a traffic light. We're talking about using that money for traffic safety purposes, okay, that would benefit the Regency at Yardley development. So let's not make it too narrow, like we're saying, because we may decide that, a traffic light isn't a good idea, or even if we think it's a good idea, PennDOT won't think it's a good idea. But maybe there are some things we can do safety-wise, and maybe there's some funds available for that. But we don't even have to tell them, just so we know, we have some idea of what the plans are for those funds. Because you presumably, did you say before that the development's going to be done in 6 months?
I'm not sure how much time's left on the development. I know it's
okay.
Yeah.
Then there's the one on the other side, which I don't know. How far along is that one?
I think it's longer than that. I think it's another year, maybe more, before the total development is finished. It did have a sign there, I forget, but it seemed to me it was more than a year before that whole thing will be finished.
Okay. Well, I don't want to belabor the point, but I just thought it would be helpful to know. Because the residents do know about that part of the agreement. They do know that money was set aside. Okay, but they're not clear either on what it can be spent for. Okay, so I will invite them to the next meeting. And like I said, I wish everybody will just, if you haven't already taken a look, take a drive out there and have some specific questions. And maybe if we have some specific questions, we can move it along so it doesn't take forever, for them to present their case and for us to respond. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Anything else on that? Otherwise, we'll move on. I sent out the revised version of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at them or not?
Yeah, but I wasn't here for that.
I have no issues.
Okay. You have no issues. Keller, I don't think you weren't here, right?
I wasn't here.
Okay, so Catherine had already given me some edits. Scott wasn't here, so it's just me, Arthur.
No, I wasn't here.
Sue. And 3 of us approved minutes.
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. 3. Yeah, 3. 3 out of 5 was 5 was here. I can't remember.
We had a quorum for the meeting. I suppose you have a quorum to approve the minutes.
Did we have a quorum for the meeting? I'm not sure.
I motioned that you had a quorum and that you approved the minutes.
2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Four
We'll
people
say
were
the minutes are approved since the people who were there have looked at them. And all right. Other business. Catherine, you want to talk a little bit about the Big Oak Oxford Valley pavement markings?
Yeah, very
Just
quickly.
refresh everybody's memory what this is about.
So they repave Big Oak and put in those fresh pavement markings, but they stopped at Oxford Valley Road and then continued on to the other side of Oxford Valley Road. I talked with Janet Vogel at PennDOT. She's the manager of traffic operations, and she said that the intersection actually belongs to the township. The township owns the intersection because the township owns the traffic signals. So she says any kind of pavement markings would be the responsibility of the township. And because I was asking her about the stop bars and, those yellow dash, not yellow, the little dotted lines that help you stay in your lane when you're turning.
Oh, yeah.
I asked her about the traffic signals also because, there's always some confusion or conflict with the traffic signals. People don't read them correctly. And she said that the traffic signals also are owned by the township, so the township would be responsible if they wanted to change the way the signals operate. She said the township would have to send in a request to revise the plans to PennDOT for PennDOT to review and approve.
So wait, it's we have to pay for it, but they still have to approve it.
Yes.
That makes great sense.
Because
before we never got anywhere, but now they're saying, it's all yours. I like that.
It's a state standard, so somebody has to uphold the standard, and people can't have their own standard. So that's why they need to get involved.
But obviously, those standards don't include having visible pavement markings that they could have painted when they did the rest of the road.
Well, she said that's that they'll paint Big Oak, but at that intersection, that is the township's intersection.
There are 2 issues here, and I like to keep them separate because the traffic signal issue, I think we have to wait. Like Art said, we're in the COVID situation. The traffic counts aren't going to be reliable, but the pavement markings.
Scott will do that. Scott will take care of those.
I'll paint. You want me to? You want to paint them this week? I have some free time. I'll get
There you go.
It would be very helpful to have those fluorescent pavement markings too, because I don't know if you've ever been caught in a rainstorm in that area, you cannot see a thing on the pavement.
No.
But even in clear weather, all it needs is the stop bars to be repainted and some of those, like, whatever they're called, those little things that keep people in their lanes.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a routine
lines.
maintenance thing. And I guess the question is that on the township's routine maintenance list to do?
They really should, because that area there gets so much traffic that it just wears off those markings very quickly. So we should. I don't know how often.
It's almost faded out right now.
What's that?
It's almost faded out.
Yeah, but how long do they go between painting, Catherine? How long?
I did not answer. I don't know.
6 months, a year?
Well, John, if that safety issue exists, what's the procedure for asking our roads department to address that? Do we go through the police department and say that we feel it's a safety issue, that it's so faded, and do they initiate the request?
You could send an email to Greg Hucklebridge and have him take a look at it and see what he thinks. And if he thinks it's ready, that might solve the problem. But if you think it's a safety issue, then obviously we should talk it through with the police first.
Okay, so how about this for a plan? How about I send an email to Tom Roach?
Yeah.
Telling him we think it's a safety issue and asking him if he can contact Craig Hucklebridge, or if I can contact him.
Yep, that would work.
Okay, I'll do that. I will send Tom Roach an email. And this is, to describe it correctly, Catherine, this is the intersection of Big Oak and Oxford Valley. And we're talking about all the pavement markings within that intersection, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
that's
depending
why
on
PennDOT
what he
skipped
said,
over that.
right? Depending on that they skipped over. Depending on that, either I or Tom will send an email to Craig Hucklebridge and see what he says. Does that sound like reasonable?
Okay.
Okay, the only other issue is our next meeting is, I think that's tax day, April 19th. So let's have our taxes done by then. I'm one to talk, right? But it's an earlier meeting. It's 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 months, we only get one 7:30 meeting, and this was it.
So
does
tax
anyone
day
else have
is on
anything?
April 15th?
When is the township going to open back up like all other businesses are and people are these days?
I don't know.
This is pretty silly at this point. It's pretty silly.
Do you have any insight into that, John, or when the township's going to open up again, when the building?
Unfortunately, no, and I have no sway as to when that occurs.
Yeah, but who does? Who has the sway?
Everybody have their shot? Anybody have you had your shot?
It doesn't matter if you had their shot. Everything else is open with precautions. A township should be open with proper precautions. It's not dangerous. Township building, how many people are there at a time? Not many. It's weird.
We'll leave that up to John. John will take care of it all, right, John?
Yeah.
Aren't you the head honcho? You're the head man.
Everybody, I'm 1 of 5.
1 of 5? No, Tom, you're the head guy. That's it.
If the supervisor
is that ever discussed at supervisors meeting?
It has been discussed in past supervisors meeting, yes.
I mean,
and what was the result?
Never want
it wasn't received kindly by some supervisors.
To open back up?
Yes.
And why would that be?
He doesn't want to say.
It's
on the advice of counsel.
Yeah, that's it.
That was, late last year, and people's perception may be changing now.
Yeah, they should be.
Yeah. It's getting to the well, I don't know. It's getting to the time though. Things should start opening up.
What difference does it make? We've all gotten pretty used to working like this. To me, it doesn't change the effectiveness really that much.
I think it does.
I can't stand it anymore.
I guess we could never do anything again in person. We could all sit home but
some companies are going to do that.
They might, and they probably, but in things that, I don't know. Think of if everybody did that. If every business was like that, what would happen?
What would happen?
You couldn't go to the store. You couldn't do anything.
Scott, you just missed the refreshments.
That's true.
We do.
I have plenty of friends who hope they never go back to the office. They're like, they're done.
No. Anyway, if anyone else doesn't have anything, we'll adjourn. Anyone else have anything they
want
to bring up?
That's good. No.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Okay.
Stay safe. I hope everybody can get their vaccines by the next time.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.